Today we're going to be discussing how to create a smarter starter. Now, first, before going into a fight, you should already know the rules. Not every rule for every fight is going to be the same. People's definitions for different rules are not the same as everyone else's. God modding, power modding, and auto hitting can all mean different things to different people. I, for example, do not use would, could, or should, or I usually don't when I fight. Some people might find this as auto hitting. I just find it as a better way to use sentences without sounding so boring. But that's my preference. People might find teleporting god modding, others don't. I do. But that's just my opinion, and things change all the time. So make sure you understand the rules and both parties understand the rules. Uh, some places, such as tournaments, will request that you list your powers and abilities and items as well. This is to prevent power modding so people don't just add on abilities to help their specific circumstance. And people usually don't do this because they're worried about metagaming. However, it is very obvious when somebody tries to metagame, so do not fret too hard on it. Uh, if you suspect somebody metagaming, you can easily just call a judge in, especially during a tournament, which it's very focused on. The judges are always watching. Uh, so let's get into this. Uh, Character's mindset. Now, your character should already know where they're going to fight. This means if you're going to fight in, for example, a snow area, your character should probably dress for the occasion, wearing warm clothing, perhaps even wearing all white to help blend into the background. Same thing with the forest. If you're going to be in a forest area, you should probably wear some darker clothing so that you can blend into your environment better. And bring the proper equipment, supplies that you would need to survive in said area. Now, the next big thing, positioning. Positioning is so important. Oh my god. I cannot tell you how many times I've killed people because of their positioning was terrible. When you enter an area, you should probably attempt to enter an area assuming that your opponent is going to be there before you, even if you're creating a starter, because your opponent is still allowed to be like, oh, well, I was here before you, so suck a dick. So just really be careful with that. You don't want to just teleport in a shining ball of light and enter the area in a ball of light, like some sort of sign that says, please hit me and cut off my whole entire post. Don't do that. You always want to make sure that your character is properly placed. You're entering the area where you can still react to a cutoff at any given point. Walking into an area is always the best option. Another thing is when you are, for example, in a ring, if you're in a 50 by 50 foot ring, like a tournament that I'm in right now, you should always state where in the ring that you entered from. Where are you standing in this ring? Are you standing in the center of the ring? Are you standing on the side of the ring? And if you are, how close or far away from the edge of the ring are you? This is very important, especially considering that usually ring outs happen very often, at least in my fights, where my opponent will not state a distance from the edge of the ring or even where they are in the ring, only stating that they are in the ring. And I'll just state that they are super close to the edge by just saying how far away I am from my opponent. I can just state I'm in the middle of the ring, and my opponent is 24 feet away from me, meaning that now my opponent is 1 foot away from the edge of the ring. I didn't control his character, I just stated how far away from him I am. Now he, because of that, because of my relation between, my relation of distance between he and I has been established, the distance between he and the edge of the ring has been established as well. So make sure that you always state your distance between important objectives, such as cover, the edge of rings, rivers, very important. Otherwise, you'll get auto-placed. You don't want that. Um, Another important part about positioning is you always want to attempt to get the high ground or very close to the high ground or be prepared to be able to take on the high ground. I'll explain how important the high ground is in later videos about strategy. Um, because you always hear just get the high ground, but no one really understands why the high ground's so important. So I'll be discussing that in later videos. Make sure that you have a way to have natural cover if you're in an area that provides it. If you're in a mountainy area, attempt to position yourself where there is a way for you to get cover from your mountain. Put your back to the mountain. This way, your opponent has a less of a chance to sneak up behind you because there's a giant mountain behind you. Cover, essentially, watching your back. What else? Natural advantages. If your character has an ability with, for example, you can use water. You're a water ninja. You're probably going to want to position yourself near a lake or a large body of water. Same thing with earth. If you're an earth user, you're probably gonna want to position yourself where there's a lot of earth, perhaps hard stone like a mountain, or even be near a cave. Things like that. You want to really give yourself the advantage. Know your character and know what best suits your character. If you're a lightning user, you're probably gonna want a thunderstorm, but that's not really helpful considering thunderstorms. They're not very reliable. But things like that. You really want to give yourself as much of an advantage as possible by utilizing your environment. Another example is if you're going to be in a forest, being in a tree is really good. Like, if you're inside a tree, you already have technically the high ground to anyone who's not in a tree, who's just standing on the ground. Uh, and also you have natural cover from the trees. You can probably stay hidden in the trees. You have 360 degrees of movement. You can go up, you can go down, you can go backwards, left, right, any direction, because you have the high ground. Um, so there's that. No, no, no. Let's see. High ground cover. Remember your environment. Remember what numbers you say, and remember how far away you are and how far away your opponent is from objects throughout the fight. It is very easy to get lost. It is very easy to forget. So make sure like you write down if you're forgetful. Or just try to keep in mind the distances that were stated throughout the fight, because you do not want to get bitten in the ass later down the road because you forgot how far away from the edge of an arena you were, and then you just DQ'd yourself. Let's see if there's anything else. Uh, yeah, well, I guess that's about everything, but here's some other important tips. Grass talk. Grass talk is when you explain too much about some sort of detail in a fight that is not very relevant to the actual fight at hand, like describing the color of the grass for like a paragraph, or even just discussing your character's backstory, even though, sure, it's really nice to give yourself a backstory and everything. However, it isn't necessarily relevant to the fight, and it's really tedious, and it's very put-offy, and it distracts you from what's really important, which is the fight. It's cute with like regular casual role plays. However, when you're doing a competitive role play, you really want to stay focused on the task at hand, which is your opponent. Um, what I like to the little rule of thumb I use is that if I'm explaining something that's not really important for more than 3 sentences, I need to stop. I need to stop immediately and start focusing on the fight, because now I'm rambling, and that means that I'm not focused on the fight, and it shows through my work that I'm no longer focused on it. Uh, and I believe that's everything. I hope this was informative. If there was any more questions, please do not hesitate to ask. If there's something I left out, please tell me, and I'll elaborate more on it. I really do not mind making a part 2 to this. And I hope this was enlightening. Be safe.